Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another video. I hope you are doing very well. And if you are new here, hi, my name is Rishika. I make bookish and lifestyle content. So if those things interest you, please do consider subscribing. You will have a lot of fun here. And you can also follow me on my Instagram. I do post a lot of stuff there. I believe you will enjoy that too. I am a big fan of crime thrillers and mystery books. So, obviously, I have read a lot of crime thrillers and mystery in my life, and I am going to recommend the top 14 books that I have read. There are a few books in this pile that I do not remember as of such, but I remember that when I read these books, they were really good. I do not remember the story, but I definitely remember the feeling that they gave me. They gave me a really good feeling. These were really good murder mystery and crime thriller books. So I'm going to recommend 14 books to you. And with that, let's dive into our video. Out of these 14 books, I believe everyone is going to get a recommendation. There is a book for everyone in these 14 books. So choose the book which interests you the best, and I believe you are going to love the book. Let's start with Famous 5. This is The Mystery of the Hidden House. This is the 6th book in the Famous 5 series. Famous 5 has a lot of books. Basically, there are 5 friends and they go around the town and solve mysteries. For example, this book, The Mystery of the Hidden House, this book is about a boy named Ern. He is Mr. Goon's nephew and he has gone missing. So the 5 people, the Famous 5, are going to find Mr. Goon's nephew Ern, and along the way they are going to discover some secrets of their town. This is a very good book. This is a children's book. Although adults will also love it. I had read it long back. I do not remember the story, but I definitely remember that this book was a really good book. I really loved it. And the 5 children in this book, they are so brave. I just wish that I could become so brave as they are. They are just so brave. I have nothing to compare them to. Maybe Pippa. Pippa in the book A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, she is just as brave as these guys are. But these guys are a lot younger to Pippa. So in comparison, these guys are braver to Pippa also. So I really love this book. The next book that I'm going to recommend is also a Famous 5 book. This is The Mystery of the Missing Man. This is book number 13 in the Famous 5 series. I do remember the story of this book. Basically, there is a criminal. He has run away from the jail, and the 5 people, the Famous 5, are going to find the criminal. The criminal is also a mastermind in disguising himself, so no one is able to find him because he has disguised himself as someone else, and he is living among the people of the town, and the Famous 5 are going to find him. This was a very good book. Although this is a children's book, adults can read it too, but I believe children will love it. This was so thrilling. I was so scared that the 5 people are going to get caught or something like that, but nothing of that sort happened. They are so brave. I really loved this book. I highly recommend. Now let's move on to Chetan Bhagat. Basically, Chetan Bhagat has written 3 books in the Keshav Rajpurohit series. Keshav Rajpurohit is the protagonist of our story. He is a guy from IIT Delhi and he basically teaches in a tuition center or maybe an institution. I do not remember the name of the institution, but he and his friend Saurav, they teach at an institution, and this is the first book of the Keshav Rajpurohit series. This is The Girl in Room 105. Basically, there is a girl named Zara. Zara was Keshav Rajpurohit's girlfriend, now ex-girlfriend. So one day, basically, Zara calls Keshav Rajpurohit and invites him to her hostel. And when Keshav goes there, he sees that Zara is dead. The police believes that Keshav has murdered Zara, but we see that Keshav is not the murderer, and this story is from Keshav's point of view. So we know that Keshav is not the murderer, and Keshav and Saurav, they both try to find who the actual murderer is. Keshav is the protagonist. He is also the detective in the story. Saurav is just a sidekick. He is always there to help Keshav, but he does not contribute much to the detectiveness of Keshav. This is a very good book. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. I really loved it. So if you want, you can definitely check this out. This is a really good book. This is by Chetan Bhagat, and I think you should definitely read the trigger warnings, although there are not many trigger warnings, but definitely check the trigger warnings before you read the book. The next book in the Keshav Rajpurohit series is this one. This is One Arranged Murder. Basically, Saurav is getting married to a girl and the girl gets murdered. So Keshav and Saurav have to solve the murder mystery of Saurav's fiance, and in the process, Keshav and Saurav are also having a huge fight. So they are not talking to each other, but still Keshav tries to help his friend solve the murder, and they finally get to know the killer. This is a very good book. It is better than the first book in the series. The first book was The Girl in Room Number 105. This one is better than that, so you will definitely like it. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars, and I highly recommend. Although read the trigger warnings. In fact, read the trigger warnings for all the books that I'm going to recommend before you read them. Moving on in the Keshav Rajpurohit series, this is its latest release. This is 400 Days. So basically, a girl in Keshav Rajpurohit's neighborhood, she comes to Keshav and begs him for his help. Basically, the girl's name is Alia, and Alia's daughter has gone missing, and she wants Keshav's help in solving the mystery. And on its way to solve the mystery, Keshav also falls in love with Alia, and that is the story. Basically, this is a very, very, very raw story. This is almost seems like it is inspired from real events, but nothing of that sort has been given. But this is a very real story. It is like these things generally happen in our society, and that has been put down in the book. This is a very, very good story. I really loved it. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. Do read the trigger warnings before you read this book. And that is it. This is the latest book in the Keshav Rajpurohit series. There has been no more addition to it, and I do not know if Chetan Bhagat is going to write another book or not, but this one was the best of the trilogy. I really, really liked it. Now, moving on to the next book. This is The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. This is a book that I have been talking about recently. I talked about this book in my June wrap-up video, and also talked about this book in my mid-yearly wrap-up video. This is such a good book that I have no words to describe it. Basically, there is a patient named Alicia. Alicia is suffering from some mental illness, and she has been kept in a mental institution. And then there is our protagonist, Theo. Theo is a psychotherapist, and he believes that he will be able to cure Alicia. Alicia had shot her husband 6 years ago. She had shot her husband 5 times in the face, and after that, Alicia has never spoken a single word. Our protagonist Theo, he believes that he'll be able to cure Alicia and also get to know the reason as to why Alicia killed her husband. And he goes to meet Alicia, and in the way we get to know how Theo's life is connected to Alicia's and why Alicia killed her husband. Or is there some other twist? Is there some other person who killed Alicia's husband and framed it on Alicia? Everything is going to be revealed in this book. This book had the craziest plot twist. I don't think anyone could have ever imagined the plot twist, because of this book is written so beautifully that you can never guess the plot twist. I give this book a 5 out of 5 stars. I really, really loved it. So I definitely recommend. Do read the trigger warnings before you start the book. The next book is One of Us is Lying. This is one of my most recent purchases. I bought this a few weeks ago, or maybe last month I bought this. You can check my short video for the haul of this book. This is the story of 5 students who go into detention in their school, and then one of the students dies while they're in detention. The victim who dies, his name is Simon, and the other 4 students, they are the suspects. The police believes that the 4 of them planned a murder together, and they murdered Simon together basically. But the 4 of them believe that they are not the killers, and we get to read the point of view of all 4 of the survivors. And they are also trying to figure out who the killer is, because the police is suspecting them. So if they find out the real killer, the suspicion over their head goes away. So they are trying their best to find the killer, actual killer, but they are also at the same time not trying to go into police radar so much. So they have to stay hidden and also find the killer at the same time. The plot twist of this book was amazing. I could not have ever guessed it in my life. I do not know if people are able to guess the plot twist or not, but I think if you are able to get the plot twist, then you have a brilliant mind. You just think out of this world, because this plot twist was definitely very crazy. I could never have guessed it in my life. This is a very good book. I highly recommend. Again, a 5 out of 5 stars. I think all the books that I'm going to recommend in this video are 5 or 4 stars. So definitely check those out. These are really good books. Do read the trigger warnings before you start this book. Now moving on to the next books. I'm going to recommend 3 books by the same author. The name of the author is Agatha Christie. It is impossible to talk about crime thrillers and murders and not talk about Agatha Christie, because she writes one of the most beautiful stories, beautiful murder stories, and you will never be able to guess the plot twist in them. So the first book that I'm going to recommend is this one. This is Murder on the Orient Express. This is a Hercule Poirot story. Basically, Hercule Poirot is the detective. He is going to find out who the killer is. There has been a dead body that is found on a train, and the train is stuck in a snowstorm. So obviously the killer is amongst all the people who are stuck in the train. So this is the story where Hercule Poirot basically sits down in the train and finds out who the actual killer is. This is a very good story. The plot twist is crazy. I could not have guessed it. Maybe people will be able to guess it, I do not know, but I think no one has ever guessed a murder mystery by Agatha Christie. So this is a very good book. I highly recommend. This is a 4 out of 5 stars for me. Do read the trigger warnings before you start the book. Now moving on to the next book by Agatha Christie, And Then There Were None. This is the story of 10 people. They are invited into Soldier Island to spend a holiday type. They are invited to spend a holiday on Soldier Island, and one by one the 10 people start dropping dead. So we are about to find out who the killer is, because the killer is amongst the 10 people themselves, because there is no one else on the island present. So one of the 10 people is the killer, and basically we are about to find out. This is not a Hercule Poirot story. This is just a story from a bird's eye point of view. You are able to get into the minds of every person that is there on the island. So that is a very good way to write a story with so many characters. There are a lot of characters in this book, but Agatha Christie writes her books in such a way that you will never get confused amongst the character. In the first few chapters you might be confused, but as soon as you hit chapter number 4 or 5, everything will become clear and you will not forget the characters. So that is also a very good trait in Agatha Christie books, and you are definitely going to like it. Do read the trigger warnings. Obviously, do read the trigger warnings for all of the books that I recommend. Now moving on to the next book by Agatha Christie. This is The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. I have not read this book, but this is one of the most famous books of Agatha Christie. Apparently this is even better than the other 2 books that I recommended. So I am really hopeful. I am going to read this book very soon, and this is basically the story of Roger Ackroyd, Murder of Roger Ackroyd obviously, and this is also a Hercule Poirot story. So definitely check this out. I am not going to give any ratings because I have not read it, and I think you need to read the trigger warnings also for this book also. So do read the trigger warnings, and after that you can start with this book. Now moving on to the next 3 books. The 3 books are by the same author. These are the books that I read in the beginning of this year. Basically I read them in March. The first book is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. This is by Holly Jackson. This is the story from our protagonist Pippa. Basically Pippa is a 17-year-old and she is trying to investigate the murder of Andy Bell and Sal Singh, and she believes that Sal Singh is not the killer, whereas the police and the people of Little Kilton, they believe that Sal Singh is the murderer. Sal Singh and Andy Bell were in a relationship, so it is believed that Andy Bell was Sal Singh's girlfriend, and Sal Singh killed his girlfriend, and then out of guilt he suicided. So this is the theory that the police and the people of Little Kilton believe. But Pippa here is different. Pippa believes that Sal Singh did not commit the murder, and she is bound to prove it. She is trying her best to prove that Sal Singh is not the murderer, and on her way to prove Sal Singh's innocence, she finds out a lot of deep dark secrets that are hidden in Little Kilton. So definitely check this out. This is a very I think it is a very cute book, I would say. Pippa here is so brave. I really like the bravery in Pippa. I definitely want to adopt that from Pippa. I definitely want that I be as brave as she is. I loved her character. She is so cute, so sweet. She is just a 17-year-old, and yet she is so brave. She is just my age, and I love the dynamic that she and Ravi has. Ravi is another character in this book. Ravi is basically the brother of Sal Singh, and she and Ravi both, they try to solve the case together. And that is it for this book. This book, I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. I highly recommend. You can check out the trigger warnings. There are not a lot of trigger warnings, but definitely check those out before you start reading the book. The next book that I'm going to recommend is the second book in the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy. The name of the book is Good Girl Bad Blood. This is also a story from Pippa's point of view. Basically, Pippa does not want to go back to the world of crime and murder after the first book has been finished. She doesn't want to go back to the same world. But one of Pippa's friend, Connor, he requests her to find his brother. Basically, Connor's older brother, Jamie, he is missing, and Connor is requesting Pippa to solve the mystery as to why Jamie is missing and where he is. So Pippa cannot refuse her friend, so she picks up the case and she tries to find out Jamie. She tries to find Jamie, where he is and why he is missing. Did something happen to Jamie or not? She is basically trying to unfold everything that is there in the story. This book is definitely darker than the first one. I will not recommend minors to read this book. You should definitely be above the age of 16 to read this book. And definitely do check out the trigger warnings. There are some triggers in this book, so do not miss on that. And this is a very creepy book. I really love the creepy feels that this book gave. This is definitely creepy, a lot darker than the first book. I really loved the book, and the creepy feels, they were just so good. I fell in love with the creepiness of this book. I don't know if that is a bad thing or that is a good thing, but I loved the creepiness this book gave me. The next book is As Good as Dead. This is the story of Pippa. Basically, this time Pippa is the one who is in danger. Pippa is basically being stalked, and there is this one person who is commenting on her videos, commenting on her podcast, and basically that person is troubling Pippa a lot, and Pippa is trying her best to not fall prey for that person. She's trying her best. This is one of the best books that I've read this year. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. This is quite thick, and this book literally gave me chills. I loved this book, the chilly feeling that this book was giving. It was so good. And in the end, you finally get to understand why the first book is named A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. After you read the third book, only then do you get to understand the meaning of the title of the first book. And also, the 3 books that are there in the series, they are all connected to each other, but they are not connected in a straight line. They are connected in a circle. Like, this book is the reason why the first book exists, and the first book is the reason why the second book exists, and the second book is the reason why the third book exists, and so on. The thing just goes on in a loop again and again. This is a really good book. I really loved the connection between the first and the second book. Basically, the circle connection, I really loved it. I highly recommend. Do read the trigger warnings before you start this book. Now, moving on to the last and final book. This is Killjoy. Killjoy is basically a prequel to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. This is a story which is set before the timeline of the first book, The Good Girl's Guide to Murder. This book is based before that incident. Basically, this is a story of Pippa and all her friends. They are playing a murder mystery game, and Pippa is trying to find who the actual killer is. And while finding the killer, Pippa realizes that she loves doing this and she wants to solve the case of Sal Singh and Andy Bell. So after this book, this is the only reason the first book exists in the first place. Basically, if this book would not have happened, then Pippa would never get the inspiration to solve the murder, and the first book would never have happened. This is a very good book. It's a novella. Actually, it's pretty short. It is only 140 pages, I think. Yes, it is only 140 pages, so you can read this in a very short time. I really loved it. Gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. I highly recommend. So that is it for this video. That were the 14 books that I had to recommend in the crime, thriller and mystery section. I hope you have found at least one book that you are going to read in the future. I hope you found at least one recommendation out of the pile. And that is it for this video. I hope you liked it, and if you did, please show some love, like this video, share this video, and comment down below your favorite moment from this video. And also tell me which book you are going to read after watching this video. Which book recommendations did you get? And that is it for this video. See you in the next one. Bye.